Hello, hello, my friends. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my face and my card making space. And the last day of STAMPtember 2024. Throughout the month of September, Simon Says Stamp has the biggest stamping party of the year, and they have partnered with a ton of crafty brands to release limited edition exclusive sets that have been one and done when they sell out. They are not restocked. All of these brands have wonderful product lines. I have no idea at the moment when I'm filming this, how many videos I have done this month using most of the collabs. And today being the last day, there are 3 collabs that have been released. They are Dare to Be Artsy, Riley and Company, and Simple Stories. I will have links to all the collabs. I'll have a link to the collab category because there's still, as of filming this, a few other ones that are left. I do not know. I cannot speak for whether or not they will get removed at the end of the day. That has happened in years past where the day ends, like the month ends, and they're gone. Like, they're just gone. So I don't know about that. We'll just see. The one thing, though, that I wanted to mention is the free shipping promo that's been going on all month. That does end tonight. That ends as of the end of September. The code will no longer work as of October 1st. So just FYI, I have that code, of course, like I've been sharing in the description box below the video. And yeah, I was able to combine 2 of the sets, and I made a couple cards using both sets. I used the Dare to Be Artsy and the Simple Stories set. I wasn't able to get as of filming this. We'll see, but I don't think I'm gonna have enough time to get to the Riley and Company set, but I highly recommend checking it out. It's really cute. It's really cute. So I'll have links below. And yeah, I combined the sets. I used some of my hoarded pattern paper and ephemera. Got a little mixed media. So, like everything, I will have links to all of the things as well in the description box below the video. My links are affiliate links. That just means that if you click on one of my links, end up placing an order, I get a little kickback from that at no extra cost to you. It is what helps pay the bills and keeps the channel going. And let's jump in to this last STAMPtember video. That's right, I used some of my pattern paper. I do like to hoard it, and I purchased this. This is the Simple Stories Vintage Essentials Color Palette Designer Tags Kit. I don't know. Like, I ordered it, I think, because when I saw it in the Simon Says Stamp store, I was like, oh, there's like a rainbow of colors. Love. If you like making like little tag albums, things like that, you would love these. You would love these. They're double-sided, so you could just cut and score and make like accordion little tag books. I don't do that kind of stuff. I just ordered it because I was like, ooh, pretty patterns, and a rainbow of colors. And again, if I had enough time, I would have done just a whole batch of these cards in all of the colors because they would make a really great gift set. But I limited myself to 2. So I went with one of the yellow patterns and one of the kind of turquoise patterns. And yeah, these are 12 by 12 papers. And I cut them in half and just used my paper trimmer to trim off the bits to make, a couple of them tags. And then I stamped the camera image, which is from the Simple Stories stamp set. This is the first year that Simple Stories is participating in STAMPtember. And this is the Oh Snap stamp set. And I stamped the camera on a couple of pattern papers because we're going to do some paper piecing, really easy paper piecing. So I took that camera stamp and stamped it as well onto some of Simon Says Stamp's smooth white 120-pound cardstock. And I stamped it just like I did on the pattern paper with Intense Black ink, which is a alcohol marker friendly ink. And then I am going to do a very simple coloring using my OLO markers. Nothing too crazy here. I purposely kept it simple. And I will link in the end screen at the end of this video to my OLO Markers playlist with all the videos I've done coloring with these. And the first video in that playlist is like a live that I did. So you can watch the replay where it's like I unbox them and I swatch them and just kind of give my first impressions. And as always, I will mention the OLO markers do come with connectors They come as half markers, and then you can connect them so that they're a normal size marker, so you're not holding them funny like I do. As of right now, I'm still using them as half markers. I've heard through the rumor mill that, later I'm assuming in this coming year, I will be shocked if they get it done this year. I've heard in the rumor mill that they are coming out with like fine tips or bullet tips. I hope it's a fine tip is what I'm hoping. So we'll see, because if my wishes come true, then I will connect my markers and I'll be very happy. But for now, I'm using them as little stublets and I'm fine with it. So I did my simple coloring. I trimmed them out and then paper piecing. With paper piecing, I have shown this many, many, many times in many videos. The thing to remember is you want to cut directly on the line of the areas you want the pattern paper to be. So for this, I just want like the body of the camera. So I use my little cutter bee scissors. These are what I've used for literally close to 2 decades now. And yeah, you trim right on the line. And then the cuts don't need to be perfect, because we're going to fix that with a black marker after I'm done adding the shading. So you just want to make sure you're not leaving any like excess, because I get asked that sometimes. It's like, why don't you use the coordinating wafer die if there is a coordinating wafer die? No, because most wafer dies, pretty much almost all of them on the market, leave a border, and you don't want the border. The point of paper piecing is so that it fits seamlessly into the image that you have stamped. So one way to make it fit seamlessly also is 1, trim it right on the line. 2, add shading, because if everything else has been colored and added, you've added shading to, and then the pattern paper is just sitting there, like on top, it won't fit in. So I'm using just warm grays for my shading. And then I'll take the color splendor and like really like soften this out a bit, because I kind of went a little harsh with the shading, but it all comes together in the end. It's all good. It's all good. So blend all that together, and then I'm going to take a black marker and not an alcohol marker to add the ink around the edges. And the reason why I say not an alcohol marker is because, especially with like pattern paper and how thin it is, it absorbs like the ink like heavily. And if I used an alcohol marker for this, it would feather in past the stamp lines and you get a messy image. Sometimes you can get away with it and it doesn't happen, but this is why I keep this little Memento Tuxedo black marker, which is a non-alcohol marker. And I use it just like that. I went around those edges and it just coats that exposed white edge of the pattern paper, and it makes my cuts look seamless. So it makes it look like I did a really good job when I didn't. And then it just fits into the stamped image. And then I adhere the pieces onto these stamped images. And there I've got that bit of pattern. So they're paper pieced. And these are cute little cameras with their cute little patterns. So to combine with the other set, this Dare to be Artsy set is adorable. It's adorable. And I had so many ideas for it, because I was like, oh, they're cute little sunflowers and, all the things. But I was like, man, I didn't have it in me, did not have the time. I haven't been able to clone myself yet. I'm trying, okay? So I was like, ooh, I'll just combine them. So I took this sunflower image from the Dare to be Artsy collab set, and I'm stamping it onto a couple of the tags that I trimmed out in the beginning with intense black ink. My original plan was to just leave them as is. And then I was like, I wonder if I just color them with my OLO markers. Because, I color on pattern paper generally just to do like shading for paper piecing. But you can color on pattern paper too. The thing to remember though, with this type of coloring, and especially with the OLOs, because OLOs are juicy, you need to use either just a light hand. You cannot do like the level of blending we normally do when we're working on heavyweight cardstock and we're doing like 3 color blends or 4 color blends, and we're good. Everything's good. Yada, yada. Ain't happening with pattern paper unless it happens to be some ridiculously heavyweight pattern paper. But paper can only absorb so much. And because pattern paper is so thin, I was already pushing it with what I was adding. Like the flower centers were fine, but the petals I did 2 colors, and I can tell, because I'm very much a professional. I'm being sarcastic, but I could tell it's like I was maxing out what I could do, and you can tell if you've gone too far because the color will start bleeding out past the stamp lines, and you'll start getting this like fuzzy look past the stamp lines, and that just means that your paper is oversaturated. and there's generally not much you can do about it. It just is what it is. So you got to keep your coloring simple if you're coloring on pattern paper. This worked. There's a couple spots, if you look you would have to look really closely, where it was starting to go a little bit past the stamp lines, but it's fine. Plus I'm going to add splatter, so you're not going to notice anyway. So this was fun. And it got me thinking too, because I was like, oh, I just, even coloring like the top parts of those flowers that are layered on top of that pattern paper there that has more pattern than just the grid. I was like, ooh, I like how that looks. I was giving myself ideas. Again, I need more hours in the day. So anyway, I colored all these in. Love how that turned out. And then I'm gonna take just a scrap of the same white cardstock. And in the simple story set, there's all these little circle images that are meant kind of for the camera lens. So there's different little sentiments and things. So I chose the one that's just a heart. And I used my anti-static powder tool on the white cardstock. And I'm stamping this image with 2 different colors of Distress Oxide ink. I used fossilized amber and peacock feathers. And because oxide inks have pigments in them, they take a little longer to dry, so you can heat emboss with them. And after I stamped them, I coated them with some clear embossing powder. And then I'm going to melt these with my heat tool, so then it'll make them a little raised and shiny. And then I just took a circle wafer die from my stash. I assume there's going to be, like, if you get the coordinating set, because again, I didn't get any of the dies this year with any of the STAMPtember sets, but I assume there's a circle die, but a nesting circle die. Who doesn't have a nesting circle die set? So I die cut those with a circle die, set them aside. Now I'm jumping to the insides of the cards. There is a method to the madness. I had trimmed down these other tags that had just like a more just basic, open area. And I'm putting them in my MISTI, and I'm going to stamp that sunflower cluster from the Dare to Be Artsy set with those same oxide inks. So fossilized amber on the yellow tag, peacock feathers on the blue tag or turquoise tag. And then the sentiment I'm going to use is from a CZ design set. So not limited edition, not STAMPtember. And I've used this set many times in many videos. It's one of my favorites. It's the big old birthday stamp set. So I lined up the sentiment, and I'm going to stamp that with just the same black ink. And I'm going to ink this up and stamp it a couple times because it's kind of busy with that sunflower image, and I want the sentiment to stand out. So I'm going to stamp that onto both of these tags. And then I'm going to adhere these onto the insides of my cards. And my cards are top folding A2 white note cards. And the tags kind of take up a lot. My thought process with this is like you'll write on top of the tag and then like right onto the card base. That's anything I add to the insides of the cards. It's kind of just bonus in my world. So I adhered the tags, having them kind of hang over a little bit, and then flipped them over and trimmed off the excess with my scissors, and that's going to finish off the insides. So once the insides are done, I can then adhere the like focal tags, main tags for the card fronts, and tore the bottoms, and then adhered those onto the card fronts. Once these are adhered, I'm going to stamp a couple sentiments from the Dare to Be Artsy set. And I really liked, there was a scripty word like that said embrace and then the day. And I was like, cute, love it. So I was like, I'll stamp that along the edge of these tags right onto the card base using those same oxide inks. So the fossilized amber and the peacock feathers. So I'd lined up the stamps in my MISTI, stamped those onto the card fronts. And the reason I did the insides, got them done and then did this with the card fronts is I want to tape these cards closed because I'm going to add splatter. So I just used a little bit of just purple easy tape, washi tape works too, to hold the cards closed to somewhat prevent, I still managed to get splatter on the insides of these cards. I don't really care, but I just kind of find that funny. So originally I was only going to add black splatter, but I pulled out my Distress watercolor pencil palette. I will have a link at the end of this video showing how I made this palette because Distress watercolor pencils come as pencils. But I did a whole video showing how I made this palette, and I do love it. I'm loving it for splatter. And yeah, when I pulled it out, I was like, I have all these colors. Of course, I'm going to add more than one color of splatter. So I put water in the fossilized amber and peacock feathers. Pretty sure the other one was peacock feathers. I don't even have these labeled because I just grab it and use whatever color works. And I used my little fan brush, and then I splattered the fossilized amber, cleaned off my brush, and then I'm going to splatter a bit of black soot onto this card front. So once this is splattered and I remove this from my splat box, I don't want to place the other card base directly in there because there's like wet splatter in my splat box, and that would just smear all over the back of my white card base. Trust me, been there, done that more times than I like to admit. So I just take a piece of grid paper, fold that over, stick it in there to protect the back of my card, and then we're good to go. And then I can splatter this card front. So add my turquoise splatter, clean off my brush, add a bit of black soot splatter, and we're good to go. So just, you can always skip the splatter step. I know it's not for everyone, but for me, it is life. So added my splatter, let that dry fully, and then I can remove the tape from the insides of the cards. And then for my little cameras, I'm going to adhere the little lenses that I heat embossed. Those I just adhered with some thin foam squares just to pop them up and give them a bit of dimension. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the cameras as well. I decided to pop those up. I also pulled out, this is the Simple Stories Vintage Essentials Color Palette Butterfly Bits and Ephemera, I think it's called something, and Bits and Pieces. Same thing. I ordered it when I ordered that pattern paper, and then I've been hoarding it. I do stuff like that. I don't feel guilty about it because I'll pull it out, I'll spread out all the pieces, I'll take some inspiration, and then I put it all back. Whatever. Anyway, I also white heat embossed sentiments from that CZ Design big old birthday set because there's little sentiments in there too. So there's the happy and the happy birthday because you can't say it enough. So I had white heat embossed those onto black cardstock, trimmed them down just with my paper trimmer, and then I adhered those to the cards. And then these butterflies, I just adhered with craft tacky glue. So got those adhered into place. And then my final little bit of embellishment for these cards is more Trinity stamps, heart baubles. I've used tons of these, same thing. I had to order them. Had to. There was a rainbow of colors and they're hearts and they're shiny. My magpie tendencies take over. So I've got the deep ocean hearts and the goldenrod hearts. And so I just stuck a few of these onto each of the card fronts. I'm going to adhere them into place with little dabs of craft tacky glue, just picking them up with my little embellishment wand. Once I get these adhered, these cards are complete. So we've got, shiny and splatter and pattern paper and heat embossing and alcohol marker color. I had fun. And like I said at the beginning, if I had had the time to do an entire series of these in the rainbow of colors with all the tags, everything, the only thing that was stopping me was time. But it definitely, and then they would make such a great little gift set. It would be so fun. But anyway, that's what I was able to accomplish. Like I mentioned, I will have links to everything in the description box below the video. Thank you all so much for watching, thumbs upping, commenting, subscribe if you haven't. I would love to have you. And I will be seeing you all very soon in another video. Bye. Thank you so much to my amazing Patreon supporters. For anyone that might be interested in supporting me over on Patreon, the link to that is in the description box below the video. For everyone else, as always, thank you all so much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping, commenting, subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to have you. And here's a couple other videos for you to check out in case you missed them. Bye.